When creating accessible links, one has to follow best practices and WCAG compliance. Links are essential for web navigation, guiding users to relevant content, actions, or external resources. However, poorly implemented links can create significant accessibility barriers for users who rely on screen readers, keyboard navigation, or assistive technologies. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.1 provides specific criteria to ensure that links are perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And these guidelines will explore best practices for creating accessible links and highlight common pitfalls that leads to accessibility failures. One has to ensure that using descriptive link text, so what they have to do and how the links should be clearly indicate their purpose without requiring additional context. And always try to avoid text like click here, read more, or more info. And the users or the developers also have to ensure that links are keyboard accessible, and links should be focusable and operable using keyboard, which means tabbing only. If possible, avoid JavaScript only click events like on-click events without using an A tag. The other best practice is using title is also should be avoided for important information. The title attribute is not only not reliable announced by screen readers in many cases, and should not be used as the primary method of conveying link information. The best practice for that would be providing an ARIA label, which will help the users to ensure that the link has programmatically accessible name. So let me quickly jump on to the page that we've designed, and here you see that I have read more text in place for these sections. So like what we have seen in our conversation just now is providing text like read more, click here, provide a vague information for the user, and it will create accessibility issues. So what we can do is to avoid is provide a clear purpose without requiring additional context. So we can provide a clear purpose for this link. So I go back to my code and just try to implement a proper code or the proper text for these read more text. In this case here is if I go here and say, learn more about headings, for example. So in this case, if I go back to the page, so it gives learn more about headings. So when user navigates using keyboard navigation and comes to this link, the screen reader will announce the user is learn more about headings. So this is one of the best practices for implementing links. And in here you have read more in the second paragraph. So this can be, I'm just giving a second example how this can be implemented as well. As I said, providing a proper ARIA label inside the A tag will help the user to know what that link is talking about. As according to the 4.1.2 name role value, which ensures that the link has programmatically accessible names. So we'll go in and look at the code and see how we can implement that. In here, what I'm trying to do is in the second link, I will provide an ARIA label. And I can say learn more about decision tree. Right. So in this case, what happens is when the user navigates to this link, the screen reader will announce saying learn more about decision tree, and the text still remains read more. This is possible only in cases when there is the user or the developer cannot have more text to implement, and they just have to work with the text saying read more. Then the ARIA label is the one that comes to help. And in some cases, there is also a possibility of providing using an ARIA label by when necessary. So in cases where if an existing visible label already describes the link, then ARIA label by is used using a span and then with an A tag attached with it. Now, so in cases where we want to implement ARIA label by, I have to go in the code and provide a span ID with the visible label, and then provide an ARIA label by. In this case, in the third example, what I want to do is I will take the text and say span ID would be, let's say, keyboard navigation, and visit the keyboard navigation guide. And in here, I have to describe ARIA label by and point this ARIA label by to this ID keyboard navigation. So in the cases where you want to implement ARIA label by, is you have to provide an ID and then reference that ID back into the ARIA label by. So these are the three different scenarios where you can implement or make a proper link according to the WCAG guidelines. So if I go back to here, so this is how it will display to the user on the page. You visit the keyboard navigation guide, and then they will have to click on this and read more about it. So these are the three ways to implement proper link onto the page. So in our next example, we will see how the navigation, if I try to focus these links, the focus indicator is hardly visible. So if you look at it, the focus indicator is not visible and it will fail the WCAG guidelines. So in our next example, we will see how we can make these focus indicator more visible to users with disabilities.